As Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, called Peter, and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into a lake, for they were fishermen. "Come, follow me," Jesus said, "and I will make you fisher of men." At once they left their nets and followed him. Going on from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, preparing their nets. Jesus called them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in the synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
In our social media world today, we have a lot of people who are followers. We know that on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and other platforms, many people just try and see how many followers they can get. And they actually encourage you to try and get more followers, trying to make friend requests all the time, and trying to get you to add to all of those that you list. And for many youth, that becomes very important, how many followers they've got. Bloggers and YouTube contributors get paid by how many followers they have. A couple of months ago, I went to a gathering of people where they were discussing whether it's better to self-publish or to have a publisher publish you. And I learned that apparently to be even considered by any publisher, you need to have at least 50,000 followers on some type of social media. They won't even think of you because, well, if you don't have the followers, how are they going to sell their books? Restaurants, TV networks, politicians, sports teams, and various other causes want to have followers. All of us can divide ourselves in following certain things, certain causes, certain politicians, certain TV shows. During the last couple of elections, there were a lot of people on Facebook who realized that they needed to unfollow some of their friends. What we follow and even whom we follow can be divisive. Last week in the Gospel of John, we saw how some of John the Baptist's followers chose to follow Jesus. In this week's Gospel, Matthew reports that John the Baptist has been arrested. So Jesus' ministry will continue John's ministry independently. They have no more communication. And if we look at the Greek word that they have translated in some Bibles as arrested, it's actually more like handed over or delivered up, foreshadowing what will eventually happen to Jesus. Matthew's gospel begins Jesus' ministry with that note. And a quote from Isaiah regarding the people who sat in darkness. Matthew wants you to know that Isaiah's prophecy has been fulfilled through Jesus Christ. And it would appear that the passage is referring to those who have been exiled in Assyria, by Assyrians. Matthew alone records that following Jesus' arrest, Jesus moves from Nazareth to Capernaum, which is on the northwest coast of the Sea of Galilee. Jesus' ministry will be to those who have been exiled, imprisoned, or oppressed, the people who sat in darkness, those living in despair, the marginalized, powerless, outcast are the people that Jesus felt called to serve rather than the wealthy, the elite, the socially acceptable, the powerful. So we will see that the disciples who are following Jesus do so by caring for the least among us. That calling goes out to us even today, for anyone who wants to follow Jesus. Discipleship has no room for self-serving. In fact, it is demanding and requires some self-sacrifice. In today's gospel reading, Jesus seeks out disciples from fishermen. Jesus sees Simon Peter and his brother Andrew casting out their nets for fish. It's for the family business of fishing. They aren't exactly qualified for ministry. They've grown up and learned the family trade of fishing. Yet, according to most translations, they immediately drop their nets, leaving everything they've known, to follow this stranger who has invited them on a journey to fish for people. What does that even mean? There doesn't seem to be any monetary compensation. There's no discussion about what the hours might be or what the expectations might even be. They leave their job, the family business, their family relationships, their homes, their whole way of life, the safety and security that we all feel when we are surrounded by loved ones, to follow Jesus to some unknown destination, to do who knows what, other than fish for people. John the Baptist's arrest should be an indication to them that this could be very dangerous. They may be facing arrest themselves at some point, yet they chose to follow Jesus. Two more brothers, James and John, sons of Zebedee, leave their nets behind. Have you ever wondered why? They had a job, they had a home, they had food, they had an income, they had family and friend network, they had some safety and security around them. Why would you leave all of that behind? Doesn't seem to make sense in our world today, does it? And think about the family that they are leaving. Will the family business survive? How does this affect the others in the family? Everyone is making a sacrifice, some by choice, and some without even being consulted. What is it about Jesus that would lead people to sacrifice so much? Why did Jesus choose two sets of brothers? Surely he didn't think that that would bring some type of harmony. I mean, I don't know about families you know, but most families, the siblings kind of fight a bit. I can recall my sister chasing my brother around with a hairbrush to determine that she was in charge when my parents would ask the two of them to babysit the rest of us. And we see it in Corinthians. Paul is dealing with disagreements among the Corinthian congregation as far as whom they should follow. Sometimes we have the unrealistic expectation that there will be no disagreements in the church. Isn't that funny? God created each of us uniquely so that we all are going to see things quite differently. While we can allow that to divide us, we can also choose to let it stretch us, to learn to see things differently, to grow more into God's way by hearing other voices. The trick is listening, truly hearing what others have to say. And that's what Jesus did. He listened to people's stories. He heard their complaints, and he taught the disciples to listen as well. It seems to me that's kind of a challenge in our world today. We are called to listen to those within our faith community, as well as those outside our faith. And it's seldom easy, especially if we are convinced that they are wrong. Perhaps we even think they're kind of off the wall. Maybe, how could they even think such a thing? But by listening, it can transform our way of thinking and give us new insights to better solutions. In one congregation where I served, there was a real split over how many session members there should be. Now, that's bigger than some of the other arguments I've heard in churches. But I asked the session members to go around, each one telling what they thought, not interrupting each other, but each being honest and open. And it was amazing to me. I didn't hear a lot of interruptions, and I didn't hear a lot of repetition as well. Each one went around, and when we got to the final person, their comment was, I thought that we should decrease the number of session members. But after hearing each of you, I've realized I need to hear all of you, because it's given me a different perspective, and I see things differently. And now I think we need all of us on the session. Listening to each other is going to be crucial to John Knox Presbyterian Church as we try to figure out what we as the community of faith want for the future. We need to be honest and open, realistic, yet spirit-filled, listening to the rest of the body as well as we begin the mission study. We are called to be disciples, people who aren't qualified, yet who are called to follow Jesus, knowing that Jesus qualifies even the most unqualified. People who are willing to care for the least. People who aren't afraid, choosing to follow the faith of Jesus instead, knowing that God is with us, whatever we decide. People who can leave the comfortable seats in order to reach out to those who lack any comfort. People who listen, even when what we hear is hard to hear, and we don't want to hear. Jesus is calling us ordinary people on this third Sunday of ordinary time, which many of us in the Protestant church refer to as Epiphany, as we choose to follow the incarnation of God. The life of following Jesus isn't easy. It wasn't for the disciples either. It's demanding. It means letting go of the easier things to follow that which often divides us. Paul tells us that the true thing that unites us is Jesus Christ, God incarnate. Jesus should be our priority. Everything else pales in comparison. So we are called to follow Jesus completely, listening to each other and trying to discern what God calls us to do. Let us be about that in Jesus' name. Amen. Our hymn is going to be Will You Come Follow Me? So I invite those who are able and willing